Tonight on Quinnipiac Live. Quinnipiac School of Engineering offers hands-on learning, cutting-edge facilities, and a community that inspires innovation. We'll show you how we're preparing our students to become expert builders, technicians, and creative thinkers. Join the conversation. Quinnipiac Live starts now. Hello and welcome to Quinnipiac Live. I'm your host Joel Vanner, and tonight we have an exciting show planned for you with a variety of guests. Throughout the show, we invite you to join the conversation. Submit your questions now in the comments section below to be answered live on air by our guests as well as by our team of Quinnipiac students and alumni. Be sure to like this live stream to be entered in for a drawing to win a specialized School of Engineering Bobcat prize pack. One lucky winner will be selected at the end of the show. And I'm joined now by Megan Donnelly, a sophomore industrial engineering major, Hannah Cabral, a freshman mechanical engineering major, and Kyle Lopez, a junior mechanical engineering major. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Our ABET accredited School of Engineering has a lot to offer with awesome new facilities and cool programs. What led you to choose Quinnipiac University and the School of Engineering? Megan, we'll start with you.
So when I first visited Quinnipiac, it just had a really homey feeling to it. It was a very comfortable atmosphere to be in, and I knew right from the get-go, like, I wanted to be here, and I wanted to do something in the math field, so that's kind of what pushed me towards the School of Engineering. So.
To narrow down your college choice, did you take a tour of Quinnipiac?
I did. I took a tour of Quinnipiac back in August of 2015, and then I also came back in the spring and did one of the shadow days where one of the students kind of showed me around and stopped in a few classes. So that was really reassuring. This is where I want to be.
I actually did the Be a Bobcat for a Day program too through the Office of Admissions, and it was a very valuable experience. Something definitely students should check out if they want to see more about the Quinnipiac community.
It was definitely really good. It was a good day.
Hannah, how did you come to choose Quinnipiac?
I actually received a lot of emails from the school, and I knew I wanted to go into engineering, so it was a plus that they had an engineering program. So I came to a lot of open houses, and I got to meet the faculty and staff, and they were extremely personal people. So I really wanted to learn more about the school, so I came to more events and stuff like that, and I just decided that Quinnipiac would be a really good fit for me.
Kyle, a junior, think back 3 years. What led to your decision to choose Quinnipiac?
So like Hannah mentioned, the staff and the teachers, the faculty, they really drove me to choose Quinnipiac. When I was a junior in high school, I took a tour for an open house day, and one of the professors that actually gave me the tour teaches me now. He's super helpful. It's so easy to go with all my professors. It's very individualized. They help you with anything. Their office hours are super flexible, and I have a relationship with all my professors, so I feel comfortable enough going to them even with questions that they may think are ridiculous, but they're super helpful, beyond helpful.
Don't forget, put your questions in the comment section below to be answered live on air by our guests as we move into our first question. Jessica asks, are the professors in the engineering program easily accessible? Kyle, you kind of just touched upon that. Would you like to elaborate a little bit more?
Absolutely. So when I do most of my schoolwork with my friends and things like that, we go to the College of Communications and Engineering. So that building is where all of the staff offices are. So I do work in the basement usually where all the labs are. And if you have any questions and office hours seem to be going on at the same time, we head up 2 floors and we go to professors' offices, ask questions. They're very accessible. They're very easy to approach as well.
So let's move into what your classes are like. Hannah, if you want to start first, your kind of introduction engineering courses, what's the vibe you've gotten so far?
So the one course I've taken so far is ENR 110, which is the World of an Engineer. It's the introductory course that all engineering students will take, and it's pretty much one where you will explore every discipline that comes with engineering, and you have these hands-on projects that come with each discipline. Personally, I chose mechanical because of the project we had, which was building a rocket, and then you get to launch the rocket, and it was just really, really cool.
Megan, you're an industrial engineering major. What led you to choose industrial engineering?
So it was actually the class that Hannah was just talking about, ENR 110, and how she was saying it, you get to kind of have a little bit of taste of each discipline offered at Quinnipiac, and just all the lessons and the project that was related to industrial engineering was kind of what led me to choose that course, that track.
Kyle, how about you?
So for me, a very impactful course I took was MER 221, which is dynamics. you take this in your junior year, so I took it last semester. Once you get past all of the preliminary courses, such as calculus and all those things, you get into the heavy mechanical engineering courses. So dynamics, for instance, it really shaped the way that I view the world in like very simple but like very impactful ways. So for instance, like I'd be driving my car on an icy road and I'd like think about coefficients of friction and things that I never thought I'd be thinking about in my life.
I'm sure your in-class experiences have been emphasized by our ABET accredited School of Engineering and the awesome facilities that we have here. But let's just take a step back maybe to your transition to Quinnipiac. Hannah, you just recently made the transition. You're a freshman, so tell us a little bit about what that was like.
I've always been more on the introverted side, so I was a little scared I wouldn't find my place here at Quinnipiac, but that was pretty far from the truth. Everyone here is so supportive, and there's so many things to do, so I've really been able to break out of my shell and explore new opportunities.
Megan?
So for me, I came up here not knowing anyone, like no one from home knew what Quinnipiac was or how to pronounce it. So it was like a little scary transitioning at first, but everyone, like Hannah said, was very supportive. I got to know my roommate, I got to know the girls down the hall, and everyone in my classes, and everyone just kind of was in the same boat, like this is all new. So it was a very good community to kind of build up and just kind of be like joining.
Kyle, what was your transition to Quinnipiac like?
So I found my foundations for how I am now through the mechanical engineering program, actually. So I found people that were involved in various different things, whether it was Greek life, SGA, anything like that, through mechanical engineering. And I would use those interests. I'd go places with them, go to clubs, go to activities, and it really helped me see what Quinnipiac had to offer.
So Megan, I'll acknowledge the elephant in the room, the yellow hard hat that you have here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what the hard hat represents and the importance that it holds to you?
So the hard hat is one of the kind of one of the things you get as a sophomore usually. You get it after you take one of the core classes. For industrial engineering, that class was IER 320, and so it just kind of like shows like how much you've accomplished so far. And like so, if you see on like the back, like you have like your last name on it, and like no, it's your hard hat, and you get stickers like as recognition. So. Like I have 2 for supporting and like help volunteer with the School of Engineering.
Which 2 are those?
Those are the 2 sigmas right here. Mm-hmm. And then this lambda is for being an officer in one of the recognized engineering organizations. So I'm a part of the Institute of Industrial and Systems Engineers. So that's where the lambda comes in from. And then the alpha is for having a 3.5 in all your engineering classes. So it's like kind of cool to have that. Eventually you get more stickers added as you keep like going through the curriculum. Eventually as a junior, once you complete another core class, you get another sticker that says your major on it. So it's either IE for industrial engineering or mechanical engineering, which is ME, CS, which is computer science, SE for software engineering, and CE for civil engineering. And then right before the semester you graduate, you also get a class year, so it's either like 2018, 2019, 2020, and so on and so forth. So it's just like a really cool thing that the School of Engineering does. It was a whole cute little ceremony, and it was just like a really like nice way to like recognize everyone's hard work so far.
Hannah, something I bet you're really looking forward to getting yeah, definitely. So Megan, you talked about the IISE, which is the Institute of Industrial and Systems Engineers. What other things besides that and also that are you involved in on campus?
So definitely that was one of my big engineering clubs that I'm involved in. I'm also involved in Greek life, one of the newer sororities on campus, Tri Delta. So that was really cool, like helping start it up and get going with that. And
Kyle, what are you involved in on campus?
I partake in many things on campus. I'm involved in Q-thon. I'm also in Greek life. I'm a member of Beta Theta Pi. I'm on the Interfraternity Council. I work for the Learning Commons, as well as CASO, which is the Quinnipiac University Engineering Student Organization. Funny acronym. How it works is it's all engineers, all disciplines of engineering, so all the ones that Megan listed before are involved, and they can come. There's competitions, they're informational, we have meetings, we take field trips, and it's just a really good way to bring all of the different disciplines of engineering together under one roof.
Hannah, you're also, I love saying this, involved in CASO. As a freshman new member to CASO, what have you seen so far and what do you like?
We haven't had much meetings last semester, but so far we've had like these little competitions where we actually put an egg into a bag or whatever, and we had to drop it from several stories, and whatever egg didn't crack won a little prize. Ours cracked on the first story, but that's okay.
Hannah, this question is good for you. Brian asks, how easy is it to meet other people in your major?
For engineering specifically, it's extremely easy. Everyone in the program is so welcoming, and they're also laid back that you don't feel intimidated to talk to them.
Kyle, maybe from a junior perspective, what are your thoughts on meeting other people in your major?
Like I mentioned before, I developed most of the friendships and relationships that I have now from my freshman year, so it's not complicated. You're around engineers 24/7. You spend time with them all the time. Your calculus courses with engineers, your chemistry, your bio, all of the courses that you take are with primarily engineers. So even if you don't want to be friends with them, you will be friends with them.
Megan?
Overall, it's very easy. All the programs, very small class sizes. Like I'm graduating with a class of maybe 10 at most. So you get to see who you're graduating with, and like ultimately you have to become friends with them because you're spending so much time with them.
So don't forget, leave your questions in the comment section below so they can be answered live on air by our guests here as we move into a question from John. And John asks, how did you know Quinnipiac was the right place for you? Megan?
For me personally, I just got a really good vibe of it on my first tour here. Like I didn't even get out of the car yet, and I just was like, this is where I want to be. The campus was beautiful. Everyone was very welcoming. The facilities are very, very new and very up to date. So it just like knew right away. They just felt right.
Kyle?
For me, I mentioned this, my open house tour when I was a junior, it was very captivating because everything in the facilities, they were all new. I remember I took a tour, and one of the professors that I mentioned before, who teaches me now, he took me into the labs where we looked at wind tunnels, we looked at all this equipment that was still wrapped up. So me coming in 2 years later, got to play with all of these new gadgets and new gizmos, and it was incredible.
Hannah?
Mine is very similar to Megan. The faculty here are extremely supportive and so welcoming, but the biggest kicker was when I got to go into the engineering basement and I just saw all the equipment. I was like, wow, this is like awesome. Like I want to work with all of this.
Well, Megan, Kyle, and Hannah, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thanks for having us.
Come visit our campus. There are so many opportunities for you to see the Quinnipiac community for yourself. For more information on upcoming open houses, preview days, admitted students days, and more, visit qu.edu/studentslive. And don't miss your opportunity to win a customized Quinnipiac School of Engineering Bobcat prize pack. Like this video by the end of the live show, and we'll select one lucky winner live at the end of the show. And I'm joined now by Janine J., a senior software engineering major, Amanda Cassay, a alum from the class of 2010, and Professor Jonathan Blake in the computer science department. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Hi.
So Janine, how did you transition to Quinnipiac? You're a senior now, so maybe think back 4 years.
Well, when I first came to Quinnipiac, I was an industrial engineering major, but freshman orientation, I fell in love with the software engineering department. So I came to Quinnipiac, joined the honors program Living Learning Community, and then joined Alpha Delta Pi sorority and helped start the computing club, and I've been doing those ever since.
So what is, for those who may not know, a living learning community, and what is the importance that has played in your education at Quinnipiac?
A living learning community is your where you live your freshman year. So you can opt into it if you are joining a program like the honors program, or I believe Business 3+1. I think the nursing program also has one. You take classes with most of the same people, so you can also live in the same dorm as those people. So for me, that was Ledge's 4th floor. We lived with half honor students, half non-honor students, and we all got to get to know each other really well.
So Professor Blake, a culture that extends to the residence hall with a living learning community and a culture in the School of Engineering. Describe to me the culture in the School of Engineering.
Well, actually, it's two different cultures, and I think they're both really important. When you have an academic entity like a school, the culture of the actual school itself, the culture of the faculty becomes really important. And our culture is one of undergraduate education. As the dean likes to put it, we hire faculty members who want to teach and are good at teaching, and we make them better. On the student side, I think the culture is about growth in and outside the classroom. So Janine is telling wonderful stories about all of the success she's had both inside the classroom and things she's done outside the classroom. And I think over 4 years, that kind of change is what we're looking for from the students.
Don't forget, leave your questions in the comment section below to be answered live on air by our guests as we move into a question from Paul. Paul asks, I am interested in computer science. Is it possible to ease into math requirements by maybe starting both pre-calc the first year? Professor Blake, I'm not sure if you know much about the courses here. I don't really know what courses Amanda and Janine have taken. Could you possibly answer Paul's question?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's absolutely possible to start pre-calc in the first year. There's a set of requirements that you have to complete in mathematics for the degree program, but there's no requirement that you finish particular ones at particular times. So pre-calc is perfectly fine in the first year here.
Janine, staying on the topic of courses, your senior capstone, why don't you tell us a little bit about the senior capstone?
So senior capstone, you are given a list of projects and you rank which ones you'd like to do. The one I'm working on right now is I'm working with one other student to build a website for the Quinnipiac weather stations. There's one here on York Hill and one down on Mount Carmel that a civil engineering student and professor built. Now we're taking all that data and trying to make it available to the public.
Amanda, during your time at Quinnipiac, and maybe it has set you up for your future, obviously, as we'll move into a little bit later, what types of internships opportunities did the School of Engineering give you?
So I am someone who is very driven by seeing how my work is directly affecting my goals in life. And so I had gone to Professor Blake many times, scared that what I was doing was never going to lead anywhere. And he one time told me that I should go take a yoga class and calm down. But he also helped me to find an opportunity in New Haven with a digital marketing agency, and I started working there I had an internship there first, and then I ended up working there through my senior year.
So we have a question from Danny, and Danny asks, can you talk a little bit more about the computer science major and what sorts of opportunities are available?
I'll take that. And then you guys can answer the opportunities one, because you're in the middle of it right now. The computer science, I think the degree program is sort of a microcosm of my answer to your question before about culture. I think it's important for us as a faculty in computer science to cover all of the material that you expect to see in standard computer science courses, but to never lose track of the fact that students are there transitioning from being essentially a high school student to being someone who's employed. And so there's this 4-year gap where they're learning all these things in the classroom. The programming languages, the development of apps, all these things you expect them to learn, the theory, the applied nature of the discipline. But they're also becoming prepared for work, whether it be doing an internship or getting themselves out there to go to conferences, just finding a way to actually change from being a computer science student to being a computer science professional. That's sort of our key.
Preparing for work, Amanda, let's talk about a little bit about your career path and where you are right now.
Sure. So when I graduated, I worked at a startup, and it caused me to have to wear a lot of hats and do a lot of different types of things. And so I had to be a self-starter. I had to work with clients, and I had to build the products and just do a lot of different things. And then from there, I worked at another startup, which was same kind of work. And then I went and tried to explore different opportunities in Manhattan. I wanted to move to the city, so I found a digital marketing agency that I worked at for about 2.5 years, and I made a lot of connections there, and that's actually how I had the opportunity to interview for Google. One of the women that I worked with, she went to Google first, and then she referred me for a job, and I went for the interviews, I got the job, and I've been there for over 3 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank
That sounds
you.
like a great time. We're going to move into a question from Jess, and Jess asks, what kinds of engineering-specific student groups and general student groups are you a part of? Janine, this question is for you.
Well, there's 2 that I'm involved in. There's CASO, which is the Engineering Student Organization. That's every single engineering major can go to it, and the computer scientists, and it's really fun. They have different competitions every time. I think the first time we did it, where they're like, all right, here's some paper, here's some tape, we're gonna do the egg drop thing, and we're gonna see who wins. And it's just kind of getting together and having fun with different experiments. The other one that I'm involved in is the Quinnipiac Computing Club. I helped start it my freshman year, and we did it with encouragement from the professors to make a club for our major. So we do a hackathon every semester, we do field trips, we do programming competitions, and just all sorts of different fun things.
Professor Blake, what kind of connection have you seen between students in the classroom and also their extracurriculars that they're involved in, both engineering specific and just general student organizations?
Well, Janine just said that the computing club does field trips. So one of the field trips was to visit Amanda down at Google. So that's a nice connection right there. Personally, I think that it's important not to be one-dimensional. And so it's important for students to understand that there's more to life than simply going to class and then going home and then going to class and going home. That there's the whole rich life out there. And much of what you do is dependent on you understanding the technology and the classroom material, but also is informed heavily by what you do outside of class. And so that we see it all the time. We see Janine coming to talk with me this semester about how I have to make sure we go back down to Google to visit Amanda. And this kind of connection is really important. It's important for students to see what's out there for them. So,
Amanda, how do you apply what you learned at Quinnipiac in your position at Google right now?
Everything that I learned here, or everything that I have now, I pretty much have my professors to thank for. It was just, we did so much problem solving, and I was always at office hours and just the kind of student that wanted to understand every single detail of every concept that we were learning. So really just being able to be resilient and when you're solving problems and step away from problems, and being able to communicate and ask for help when you need it, and just have the confidence to know that you can eventually solve a problem, but it might take a little time.
Don't forget, leave your question in the comment section below to be answered live on air by our guests as we move into a question from Chris. Chris asks, how easy is it to meet people outside your major?
I guess I'll take that. It's very easy. Quinnipiac's a really diverse place in that, like, we do multidisciplinary projects sometimes. I know we did one last year in our software engineering and healthcare class where I worked with a bunch of nursing students. There's so many different clubs on campus that you can interact with and meet people from that. I met a lot of my friends from the honors program and also from my sorority. You meet a lot of people just going to school events. There's always the quad and the QU After Dark, or that is QU After Dark, and the student programming board events on campus. There's tons of those happening, like I think every Friday and Saturday night that we used to go to.
So, Janine, not only have you had opportunities here at Quinnipiac, but you also have an opportunity when you graduate. You have a job after graduation. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
So, early last year, I was encouraged by one of my professors, Professor Rubiel Carrutli, to apply for this conference scholarship down in Orlando, Florida, the Grace Hoppers Conference, and went on a whim, got it, and spent the entire time just going in and out of different booths for companies. And I got talking to a woman at Liberty Mutual in their Tech Start program, and I fell in love with it. Did a couple interviews, and now in September I'll be moving up to Boston.
Daryl asks, what are the differences between computer science and software engineering programs? Professor Blake, maybe this is a question for you.
Okay, so I'm a professor, so I'll try and give you the short answer. I don't know if that's going to be possible or not. The short answer is one of focus. So computer science looks at the discipline of computing across a wide spectrum. So if you think about computing as everything from the latest killer app to the actual hardware of the computer science program concerns itself with all of those things. Maybe not a large amount, but we stick our fingers in lots of different places along that continuum. Software engineering really is focused on building software. So it concentrates at one end of that spectrum. And I like to think of software engineering as the application of good engineering principles to the building and deployment of large-scale software systems. So the larger the software system is, the more careful you have to be about how you build it and release it, and the more important it is that you have engineering principles for that. So that's sort of the same. They share the first 2 years. The first 2 years of the curriculum is largely the same, and then you branch out into different electives based on your interests.
Our mechanical, industrial, civil, and software engineering programs are ABET accredited. So as a professor, maybe, what does that accreditation mean for the School of Engineering?
I think it's a validation of what we've been doing to a great extent. Those 4 engineering programs are ABET accredited. The computer science program has started the process. It's a way for a group that's external to the university to come in and see what we've done and say, you guys are doing the right thing. You guys are heading in the right direction. So it's really nice. That happened in the minimum amount of time. You have to have a graduate of the program before you can apply for accreditation, and so we got it first time in the minimum amount of time, so that was again, it's great validation for us.
Well, thank you so much for joining me this evening. That's all the time we have. Come visit our campus. There are so many opportunities for you to see the Quinnipiac community for yourself. For more information on upcoming open houses, preview days, admitted students days, and more, visit qu.edu/studentslive. And before we leave you, we have the winner of the Bobcat Prize Pack from all the likes on our video, and the winner is Danny Lucchini. Danny wins the Bobcat Prize Pack. Danny, someone from Quinnipiac University's Facebook team will be in contact with you soon. That's all the time we have for our show this evening. Thank you to my guests and the guests in the previous segment. Be sure to like Quinnipiac University on Facebook. I'm Joel Vanner. Have a great night.